Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to my channel, Indian Cooks and Books. I'm DJ, and I am on this hill that we have come for a hike, and it's beautiful here, beautiful day. And I'm going to be talking about a book that I read recently. So for the first time, got a Netgalley, a review copy of an audiobook from Netgalley, and I'm so grateful for that. It was a very interesting book, and the book is called The Kimono Tattoo by Rebecca Copeland. And Rebecca Copeland is a professor in a university somewhere in the USA. I'm not sure which university, but she is also the translator of some of the novels by a Japanese author called Natsuo Kirino, if I'm not wrong. And this is like her first writing debut, I'm not sure, or at least first fictional book. And it's a murder mystery. So let me give you a little quick synopsis about this book. This book is set in the city of Kyoto, which is in the western Japan, which used to be Japan's old capital. And the main character is called Ruth Bennett, who is an American in her 40s, I would like to say, but she was born in Japan. Her parents are doctor and nurse, and they had been working in Japan for many years, and that's where her and her brother were born. And they speak very fluent Japanese as well as English. And after a bunch of ups and downs in her personal life, like a divorce and failed kind of university professorship career, she comes back to Japan and she's working as a translator. One day suddenly she gets a visit from this mysterious woman who says that she has first chapter of a new novel written by this famous author in Japan, who has gone in an exile for like about 20 years, and people have speculated that the author might be dead already. But for some reason the author wants her to translate her Japanese novel first, a chapter by chapter, and she has like a fat envelope of cash, and she asks her to keep it absolutely confidential. And it's a murder mystery again, the book that she's supposed to translate. And then the first chapter has some kind of like description of a murder, and like it's a little predictable, but then suddenly she sees the news and that murder described in the book has happened already. And she needs to solve the mystery. Who is this woman? Because the woman does not give her any contact number or any way to contact her. So this woman is American, but she is very interested in Japanese culture, and she loves kimonos. She owns a bunch of kimonos, and she also loves Japanese dance. And she this woman who gets murdered in the news has ties with like one of the biggest kimono businesses in Kyoto. So her curiosity gets piqued even more, because she is really interested in kimono. And then the kimono tattoo comes next, which I will not spoil it for you, but it's a tattoo of a kimono. But for some reason that becomes the reason that this person might have gotten killed. So this book is wonderfully weeby. I also kind of had this weird, like I coined up this weird phrase in my mind that is like weeby dooby doo, like Scooby Dooby Doo, because it's a murder mystery for weebs or people who are super interested in Japan and Japanese culture. As it is set in the city of Kyoto, which is one of my favorite places on earth, it has a lot of references to Japanese traditional arts like kimono and Japanese dance, buyo, traditional dance, and Japanese tattoos, which are kind of motifs, which have like different motifs, and each chapter is kind of named after different motifs, like sakura, which is cherry blossom, or oak tree, or this tree, that tree, chrysanthemum, etc., etc. Speaking of chrysanthemum, I think the main character's name, Ruth Bennett, might be an homage to this famous author called Ruth Benedict, who wrote this really like really famous novel called, not a novel, it's a non-fiction book about Japanese culture and history called Chrysanthemum and Sword, or it's originally called Kikuto Katana. And I think she wrote it, she was an American, she wrote it without ever stepping a foot in Japan, and it's incredible. It's still referred in a lot of university courses, and I also own a copy. So I think it might be a nod to that author, because the main character is called Ruth Bennett. There are like funny nods like that in the book. Like there is this shout out to Murakami Haruki. Like at one time, this main character imagines herself to be at the end, at the bottom of a dark well, which is also very frequent kind of occurrence happening in Murakami books. So yeah, I also liked the discourse about the kanji characters, or the Japanese characters, Chinese characters in it, and it kind of, it is like embedded in the mystery, and there is like this etymology of this word called tasogare doki, which means the golden hour between the day and the night, and then there is like golden light in it, and it's a magical time where lots of transcendent things happen. And I like that the author explains the etymology behind that, and a bunch of different things like that. Linguistically, it was very interesting. You can tell the author is knowledgeable about that, and the mystery was also nice. It like gripped me in the first chapter. I was hooked and I was interested, and I kept on going. The narration was also very good. So I will now go to the things that I didn't like that much. In the audiobook specifically, the narrator is not probably familiar with the vowels in Japanese language, and they pronounce these couple of words which have the sound E as I, like omi I, which is meeting for arranged marriage, is pronounced as omai, which is not the correct pronunciation, or mie prefecture, a place in Japan, is pronounced as mae prefecture sometimes, and sometimes mie prefecture. So that was a little bit and there was like little accent wise changes, or like kind of not so correctly pronounced words. But I'm also very bad at that. I'm also not very good when it comes to maintaining the original Japanese accents when pronouncing Japanese names especially. But other than that, the narrator was really nice, and that it got quite lost in the last 20% of the story. It was focusing on a different thing totally for the rest of the book, and then it pivots to this totally other thing, and the thing that the author was focusing for a long time gets just discarded very and the main character at one point says that I don't really care about that which is very funny. Why would like you describe like it throughout like the novel for like 200 pages, and then suddenly it's like meh, don't care about it so those things were a little bit lacking, and as a mystery it can quite feel like quite chaotic. I think it could have been a little bit crisp and a little bit like more punchy, like you could have gotten the punch a little bit better. Like some of the scenes were quite contrived, they were quite like forcefully put in the story sometimes, and that's why the mystery became a little bit loosey goosey. But overall I enjoyed the book a lot, because the places inside Tokyo, just they made me nostalgic from when I visited. I've never unfortunately lived in Kyoto, but it's my dream to live in Kyoto someday. But yeah, it made me kind of happy for remembering those memories from my visits to Kyoto, and the mystery was fun to read, and kimono and some other traditional tidbits of knowledge were also good. So overall I liked the book. It was pretty decent. I gave it 3.5 stars out of 5. So I would recommend it to people who are really interested in Japan or Japanese language. If you don't know the Japanese language, some of the parts might be a little bit difficult for you to understand, but it might be a fun novel to read if you are curious about Japan. And if you are looking at it from the mystery side of things, it needs some improvement. It has scope for improvement, but it's still fine. It's still nice. So, and some of the characters are quite interesting, and I liked how the character development happens in the book for most of the characters. For one of the characters, it's all of a sudden like the whole book they are not really a thing, and then suddenly this character is like in the focus. But yeah, the technicalities aside, I quite enjoyed the book, and I think you could enjoy it too. So let me know if you have already read it. Let me know if you read it in future, what your thoughts are on this book. On this note, I think I will take your leave, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye.